Welcome back. You're watching The Front Row. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a look at more proposals contained in the Finance Bill 2021 and have our guests dissect them for us in this last bit of The Front Row. So, proposed penalties in this particular Finance Bill, the proposals by Treasury, making an omission, lying while filing returns. Remember, that's what we are currently doing, filing our tax returns before June. So this will attract 100,000 Kenya shillings for each such false statement or omission to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years or both. So take note, if Parliament passes this, there will be huge liability if you omit or lie while filing your tax returns. Making an omission, lying while filing tax returns, reporting financial institution that fails to file an information return or a nil return when required to pay a penalty of 1 million shillings for each such failure. And then on that, we also have some commodities that have been exempted from the VAT list. And this includes equipment used by players in health, oil and mining, as well as renewable energy sectors. And our panelists will be telling us why this is critical. And also specialized equipment for the development and generation of solar and wind energy and medical ventilators. Remember, ventilators are a very crucial commodity right now as the country deals with the COVID-19 pandemic. So permanent establishment, entities who will be operating in Kenya for more than 30 days will be considered to have established a permanent base, therefore liable to pay income tax. If you set up for more than 30 days, you will be expected to pay income tax because it will be assumed that then you have set up a permanent base. Let's get back to our panelists. Vincent Kimosop. Looking at some of these proposals, let's start with the exemptions from VAT. Equipments in health, oil, mining and renewable energy sectors, as well as solar, wind energy and medical ventilators. What could have been the thinking behind this?
Do I go?
Yes, please.
Okay. So on the context speaks to this. You remember during the when we was at the start of COVID-19, one thing that became very clearly was capacity locally. So things that like masks that were imported, I'm sure you know the prices that were floated when it came to even some of the state agencies when they were acquiring a mask for 800 today, which you can get for 10 shillings. There was also the issue of personnel protection equipment. So you can really see that there is a need towards promoting domestic production and also boosting the economy, because the estimate shows that this COVID-19, we are likely to be in it for over 2 years, and therefore domestic capacity is very important. You remember very well also that even in terms of the boost for the vaccine, the name for it, AstraZeneca, was that India stopped exporting, and that has affected our ability to take care of our domestic needs. So you will see really the element of energy, wind power, that is infrastructure that will ensure that we are able to promote domestic production and, again, of course, domestic consumption. So I think the other thing that also you see from the finance bill is the intention towards aligning also towards the agenda forward, the president's agenda, in terms of one of them being manufacturing. And you have to provide the conducive environment, the facilitatory framework, and also ensure that the business environment is conducive for such to happen. And then also government towards purchasing this. So, and you can see the direct impact when companies started producing masks, PPEs, the cost went down. And I visited a manufacturer in Nakuru, and you can see very clearly that we have capacity. That all we need to do is to support them, and ensure that government also purchases locally. I had alluded earlier about the amendments that you're seeing towards the retirement benefits. Mm-hmm. Akisa, if you checked when the former CEO of RBA, Dr. Odundo, took over, I think that's close to 10 years ago,
Right.
the quantum for savings that we had done through retirement benefits was 50 billion. And that rose all the way to 1 trillion in less than 10 years. And I can tell you, it is possible for us to finance our own development. And you can already see that trajectory through some of the proposals that you see in the finance bill. Let me stop there.
Just before I go to Victor, something else that's very key that you've mentioned, we are seeing exemptions on medical ventilators. And of course, we are bearing in mind that we are right in the middle of a pandemic, and this has become a very precious commodity. But on the other hand, we are introducing taxation on syringes when the country is just about to embark on a mass vaccination plan. What would be the rationale for that, Vincent?
I like that. I think that that might actually go out, particularly as the conversation happens and moves ahead, because COVID-19 is a public health thing that has affected all sectors of the economy. So those, I think I would say that it's part of those challenges that you face at times when you find yourself in a catch-22, you need to mobilize resources domestically, and at the same time also because the country has to move ahead. We have to finance this economy. So I think that will be dropped. I would not want to argue for it.
Yeah.
And particularly at the time where we are facing a public health pandemic that has had monumental proportions.
Okay.
I think I would also want to say something, Akisa, if you'd allow me.
Yes.
This journey of budget making and this journey of policy making, just to see how COVID-19 has changed our settings. You will see the primacy and the place of health moving forward, getting its premium. But interestingly, we really tend to also like politics. Can you imagine also at the same time you are discussing other things that are getting, competing for the headline when we have a pandemic, we have an economy to fix. Quite an interesting country, I must say. And maybe we should blame it on the media, and I am here to...
We cannot blame, trust me, we cannot blame that for the media, and I can argue this the whole day with you. But I'd really want to get the response from Victor on this very question on taxation on syringes when the country is embarking on a mass vaccination plan, which is very critical at this point of the pandemic.
I think, just as you were talking, I was just reflecting, interacting with a lot of SMEs and with a lot of different entrepreneurs. There's a sense of anger that is there from SMEs, in the sense that if you look at the last 5 years, SMEs have really had, the government has been very hard on SMEs. Looking at the repeat elections 2017, 2018, we had drought, we had the interest rate cap, etc. Then we had COVID, and even as you that, we are looking at 3 out of 5 SMEs closing shop in a normal environment. Then come 2020, we were hit with COVID. And of course, SMEs have continued to struggle. And of course, SMEs, if you look at data, 33% of GDP is contributed by SMEs. 98% of all businesses are SMEs. SMEs employ over 30% of the entire population. And the natural reaction for an entrepreneur or an SME would be for government to be able to support them during this very difficult period. This begs the question around what kind of intervention has government put in place to ensure that SMEs don't close shop and SMEs, we're able to stop SMEs. And we know that 79% of SMEs are in the informal sector. Yet, government, through the economic stimulus program that it launched last year, did a variety gave a variety of interventions around VAT, around pay-as-you-earn, around corporate tax, and the sense that those interventions have the kind of it was anticipated on SMEs.
Okay, Victor. Victor, I think we are having a challenge with your microphone, so we'll be fixing that and getting back to you for your closing thoughts. I want us to now take a look at what are some of your thoughts. What are you saying about your concerns and your thoughts on the Finance Bill 2021? Alex Mayore says, forget about bread. We will forget about bread. We have even noticed how expensive it is to transact on M-Pesa. Very unbearable. How can a government have an easier time borrowing loans outside than make it unbearable for Mwananchi to borrow local banks with high fees? And Kimosop really tried to address this earlier on in the program. Thank you for that, Alex Mayore. We also have another comment here from Brian Mulwa, who says 1.8 trillion goes to the executive. That is 50%. Another conversation on our recurrent expenditure that perhaps we'll be addressing on your closing comments, gentlemen. Brian Mulwa still says, how does budgeting for money we don't have help us? Whoever advises this government...
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right. Unprintables there, so I'll not read that. Karaoke Muiri says, 9 straight years of 7 to 9% has destroyed productive private sector jobs, deepening poverty. Only banks have made money. Therefore, budgeting under this government has been a criminal enterprise and economic sabotage. It is not about tax. A lot of your comments coming in. Let's take a look at what's on our text line. Reverend John Gitonga from Meru says they should not add more taxes because even the current ones we are not able to pay. Well, a catch-22 the government finds itself in right now. Let's see. Someone else here says these taxes are killing us already. Okay, something else that I can't quite understand, but we get the point. It is not, it's very evident that Kenyans really are feeling pressed at this point. We can't quite start talking about economic recovery because we can see the kind of strife that's currently being experienced. So in your closing comments, gentlemen, perhaps a minute or two each, looking at these proposals, whether they will be passed by Parliament or not, we are heading into our biggest budget yet, 3.6 trillion. How do we ensure that it translates to economic growth? I'll start with you, Vincent.
I think I would want to say that there are good proposals in the finance bill. For example, I pointed out earlier that this is the whole element of deepening digital taxation, which we are seeing really a shift of the economy to that section, strengthening governance and policy in terms of getting disputes resolved on time. I think I pointed out the Capital Markets Tribunal, which is good in terms of boosting investor confidence. Also, the frameworks around supporting SMEs, the credit guarantees, the link to Agenda 4. So I think those ones needs to be supported. I think my concern is therefore things that therefore you don't see coherence. And I think I pointed out earlier about, for example, lazy taxes. We do not need excise tax on loans when we really want businesses to be able to be accessing loans so that they can generate the resources, employment, and also pay taxes that are required. I think I would want to say that I hope on the political front we could be able to ensure that we keep the momentum on recovery. I can tell you that this budget is being read at the time when, or the finance bill is being presented at the time whereby we are 16 months shy away to the next election. So you will have 4 months of next year, really, when we hit around March all the way to August. It will be an electioneering period. So the real time, the lead time towards recovering and building the economy is between now and March. So how I wish that the political stability together with the focused energy and economic growth rate supports us so that we can be able to get the economy.
Thank you. Victor, final thoughts.
I think for me, number one is we need to rain down on corruption because it's really the wastage the biggest wastage that we are having. Number 2 is let's find a way of backstopping SMEs. If you can be able to give SMEs a cash grant, I think that would be awesome. Number 3 is let's look at SEZ or special economic zones around an ecosystem rather than trying to build SEZ solely by attracting foreign direct investment. And if you look at the latest report from the Global Innovation Index, Kenya is number 3 in Africa in terms of innovation. We are really punching above our weights. And I think it's high time that Kenya had a startup bill, just like other African countries that have led the way, Tunisia, Mali, Senegal, etc., so that we can start supporting our startups and the different players and stakeholders around the startup ecosystem.
All right, thank you. Way to end it. I hope you've been able to learn a thing or two on the Finance Bill 2021, even as we'll be following up on the kind of conversations that will be ongoing in Parliament. Whether the National Assembly will pass this or not is a matter of wait and see. My guests tonight, Vincent Kimosop, a development economist, and Victor Otieno, an SME and tax expert, just helping us break down some of the proposals by Treasury ahead of the 2021-2022 financial year, with the biggest budget yet of 3.6 trillion Kenya shillings. Thank you for also engaging us, your questions and insights on the same. It's a conversation we'll keep having. I am Akisa Wandera. This is A Front Row, and I'll see you next time.